And that is the fact that America, Texas, and Western civilization are under attack from within. The cheap labor lobby, left-wing NGOs, radical progressive Democrats, Marxists, globalist organizations, the United Nations. They've mobilized a coordinated effort to subvert our security, our immigration system, to harm the American people. Particularly concerning is the threat posed by Islamists who are spreading Sharia law into Texas, who are advancing throughout the country, and who have a stated goal of undermining American life, not assimilating into it. This is a political movement, well-funded, targeted at the American people, Western civilization, our rule of law, and the Constitution. We should not be allowing more people into this country who are adherent to Sharia law. Period.
Guys, if you haven't seen this yet, buckle up. We are watching Representative Chip Roy, the only guy in DC with a real spine right now, absolutely torching the House floor. He is saying the things that would get anyone else canceled in 5 seconds, but he's got the receipts. We're talking about the Red-Green Alliance. That's the unholy marriage between the radical Marxists and the Sharia law Islamists, who are literally working together to
The documentary opens with a forceful claim that American institutions and Western culture face internal pressure from political, economic, and ideological forces. It frames immigration and national security as central concerns, arguing that coordinated movements seek to weaken legal systems and social cohesion. The narration introduces a speech by Chip Roy, presented as a lawmaker challenging prevailing narratives in Washington. Viewers are told his remarks target global organizations, progressive politics, and radical ideologies. The segment establishes the tone, a warning that these issues are not merely political disputes but existential struggles over law, identity, and the future direction of the United States.
Muslim Brotherhood's own motto is, Allah is our objective, the Prophet is our leader, the Quran is our law, jihad is our way, dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. Meanwhile, Europe has fallen. London, Paris, mere shells of their former strong self. You watch veterans who fought to defend the United Kingdom in World War II, those still alive tear up and cry, wondering what it was they fought for. When they watch the radical extension of Islam into the streets of London and throughout the United Kingdom. In France, a majority of young French Muslims put Sharia above their own.
The focus shifts to what is described as a cultural and ideological conflict rather than only a border crisis. The speaker references a Red-Green Alliance, portraying cooperation between Marxist movements and Islamist groups as a strategy to undermine Western societies from within. Tragic crime is cited as evidence of policy failure, and the narrative stresses emotional impact by invoking victims and families. The documentary frames this argument as a challenge to mainstream media coverage, suggesting uncomfortable topics are avoided in public debate. This section aims to present the speech as controversial but deliberate, intended to provoke discussion about assimilation, public safety, and ideological compatibility.
National laws, and more than a third have sympathy for Islamification. French officials have warned President Macron that Islamists are infiltrating France's Republican institutions and are a threat to national cohesion. The authors of the report to Macron identified the Federation of Muslims of France, FMF, as the main French emanation of the historic Muslim Brotherhood, which was founded 100 years ago to promote a return to core Islamic values. They said the FMF controlled 139 places of worship in France and a further 68 affiliated, in all around 7% of the total. The organization ran some 280 associations. 7 out of 10 French voters would back a ban on the Islamic veil in public because of what's happening in France. In the United Kingdom, Muslims are increasingly turning to Britain's Sharia courts, which are not part of UK law and operate as informal bodies. The number of Sharia courts in Britain has grown to 85 since the first began operating in the country in 1982. Polls have found that 41% of the British public believe that Muslim immigrants have had a negative impact on the United Kingdom. Nearly half think that Muslim women are pressured into wearing the hijab, and almost a third think that Islam promotes violence. Parallel legal systems are not keys to a thriving society.
Attention moves to Europe, which is portrayed as a cautionary example. London and Paris are described as cities struggling with integration and parallel legal practices. Statistics and reports are referenced to argue that segments of Muslim populations prioritize religious law over national law. The narration highlights concerns raised by French officials about institutional infiltration and social division. Britain's informal Sharia councils are cited as evidence of alternative dispute systems operating outside state authority. This segment uses Europe's experience to suggest possible outcomes for other Western nations, emphasizing fear of fragmented legal standards and weakened national unity.
There must be one rule of law for all of the people. All the way back in 1991, a lot of people won't know this, the Muslim Brotherhood issued a memorandum about North America, detailing a plan for, quote, the enablement of Islam in North America, establishing an effective and stable Islamic movement led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which adopts Muslims' causes domestically and globally and works to expand the observant Muslim base. It was a coordinated and specific effort to advance Islam into the United States. Our founders did not envision a nation that remotely resembled today's Muslim world and the radical elements of Sharia. America was founded as a nation grounded in a distinctly Judeo-Christian history and understanding of human nature. It was the United States, it was Great Britain, that led the ending of slavery. John Adams said, one great advantage of the Christian religion is that it brings the great principle of the law of nature and nations to the knowledge, belief, and veneration of the whole people. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams hinted at the incompatibility of America's Republican virtues with the values of Muslim nations after meeting with the Islamic ambassador about the Barbary state's inclination to make war upon nations that did them no wrong.
The documentary then turns to historical documents attributed to the Muslim Brotherhood, describing them as outlining a long-term strategy for expanding influence in North America. These writings are presented as ideological blueprints rather than isolated opinions. The narration contrasts these claims with the philosophical roots of the United States, emphasizing Judeo-Christian traditions and Enlightenment ideas about law and human nature. By linking modern concerns with past political theory, the segment argues that today's debates echo older conflicts about sovereignty and belief systems. The message is that cultural foundations matter in shaping laws and civic loyalty.
They were informed it was a requirement of the Quran. Jefferson's papers. In 1786, he wrote, quote, we took the liberty to make some inquiries concerning the grounds of their pretensions to make war upon nations who had done them no injury, and observed that we considered all mankind as our friends who had done us no wrong, nor had given us any provocation. The ambassador answered us that it was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in their Quran, that all nations who should not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them whenever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. That's Jefferson in 1786. Our founders knew that Sharia law was not consistent with Western civilization and our values. Sharia law is a problem that is growing throughout the United States and certainly growing in Texas. My home state bore the brunt of a 4-year mass migration invasion under the previous administration. But there's been a quieter one of Islamists leveraging our immigration system and corporate interest to extend and use diversity visas, chain migration.
Quotations attributed to early American leaders are introduced to illustrate perceived incompatibilities between Republican values and religiously based legal systems. The documentary recounts historical encounters between U.S. envoys and representatives of Islamic states, emphasizing disputes over war, law, and moral authority. These historical examples are used to argue that conflicts between secular constitutional government and religious jurisprudence are not new. The narration suggests that founders anticipated such tensions and sought to build a system grounded in universal civil law rather than theological command, framing this choice as central to American identity.
H-1B visas to flood our country with people who don't believe in it and have no intention of assimilating into it. And it is undeniably true after the election of the mayor in New York, Mamdani, with what's going on in Dearborn, with what's going on in Minneapolis, with what we're seeing happen in Texas, in Dallas, in Houston, what we saw unfold in London, in Paris, that there is an attack on the Western way of life, and we must stand up and defend it if we're going to be able to pass down a country to our kids and grandkids. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Returning to the present, the film describes immigration policy as both a humanitarian and security dilemma. It claims that visa programs and migration channels can be exploited by groups resistant to assimilation. U.S. cities are mentioned as examples of demographic change fueling cultural debate. The argument broadens into a defense of what is called the Western way of life, asserting that national continuity depends on shared civic rules. The documentary portrays the speech as a call for political resistance, urging lawmakers and citizens to view immigration not only as an economic issue but as a question of cultural survival.